What's up, guys? I'm back with more F123 racing, and it has been a long time since I've posted a video. I know that, and I will get into some of the reasons behind that in a second. But to introduce what we've got going on here, this is a little bit of my team. I decided to get going with a my team career. We're doing 100% race length, and I've done. I think this is going to be something that I hopefully stick with, but we will see. We're going to start here and we're going to see where we go from here. But I know that this is my first video in a while, and one of the reasons for that is I've just not had I've not been gaming as much, I wouldn't say. I mean, I've been doing the league racing weekly or close to weekly, but honestly, the races have been pretty bad from my perspective, and that's a little bit of not practicing as much as I should versus also some just very poor races. I mean, I had a league race where at one point I was in second or third legitimately and ended up spinning out in the closing laps of the race. So it's just not been going great racing wise, and I don't feel like I've really had a lot of the kind of motivation to play, to race, to game a lot lately. And I just sort of had this stroke of inspiration to do some my team because I really enjoy doing a driver career or my team, but often it just fizzles out, or maybe I don't spend as much time to sort of get things right as I should. I don't practice enough for the races and everything, so it just ends up fizzling out, I guess. But I've just had the urge to do 100% my team lately. So I finally decided to go with it and do it. And you will have seen that our performance comparison showed us in the second best car in the grid. I basically chose to be a championship contender from the jump because, frankly, I think it's more fun to fight for wins and for podiums than it is to start at the bottom of the barrel. And also, I think there's some balance issues once you get into probably season 3 of my team, just because cars have everybody's got these brake upgrades that makes your setups kind of weird in terms of brake bias, and every team has these personnel upgrades that make the second drivers for each team sort of OP. So it gets a little weird later into my team, but if I'm doing a full season, 100%, I hope that I can compete for a championship in year 1 or year 2, but I don't even know that I'll have time to take it into seasons 3 and seasons 4, but we'll see where that goes. I am showing you all my qualifying laps here, which is not something that I've historically previously done, but I think that there's a lot of content within a 100% race, right? And I think historically I have sort of erred on the side of showing not enough. But I do think that it can be really interesting. It can be really cool to show the progression through qualifying. And I did a short qualifying here, but you may have seen my first lap. I had a couple moments, I had a couple errors, and I ended up with a time that was okay, but just not really great. This second lap is obviously shaping up to be a lot better. But remember, we've got the second best car in the grid, and I think the AI is pretty well set here where it is for this race. So I think that that is a good outcome. That means the car is where it's supposed to be, where we're supposed to be, and it's just a matter of executing and putting down good laps to put yourself in a good position, right? So we're going to finish the second lap roughly a second up on where we were previously, and I go across the line P5 right behind my teammate Jamie Chadwick. So we're going to go again at the end of qualifying, one last shot to get on pole, to put a good lap in, and I am feeling pretty comfortable. You know, as you practice, you're going to feel more comfortable just doing more laps, especially in a 100% race like this. Bahrain is something like 57 laps, I think. So you definitely have time to really get comfortable and figure out the points where you need to brake and what gear to be in and how much throttle to apply at different places. And that doesn't mean that I'm perfect by any means, but I do feel myself sort of figuring it out as I went through qualifying and as I went through the race. And that's even, I mean, of course I do the practice sessions and do a little bit of calibration to try to get the AI right, but even still, the qualifying session, you can feel yourself getting faster and learning the track better, and the same thing during the race, right? So at this point, I'm on a bit of a flyer of the lap for me personally. Obviously, this is not competitive with the esports guys or the guys that I do league racing with, but for me, I was feeling really comfortable at this point. And honestly, I like Bahrain as a track, but I struggle here a lot. And a lot of times I feel like it's setup related. Other times I feel like it's just confidence related, but for me, this is not a great track. And you saw me make a couple errors on my first 2 qualifying laps. But on this 3rd qualifying lap, I'm roughly a second and 1.2 seconds up on my previous lap. And we go across the line, pole position, P1. So that's exactly where I want to be starting from. I'm in a position of power here. Now we just got to go into this race and convert. And I'm 7/10 up on the closest person. You see Jamie Chadwick, my teammate, in P7 there. So we're feeling pretty good. I feel like we're on for double points in this race. It's just going to be a matter of executing and getting it done, right? But I feel like we're in as good a position as we can be. You see my time's going down. I checked for Verstappen's laps. Jamie Chadwick looks like didn't have a great second lap, but let's get into the race.
Months of rumour and speculation all come to an end today as we return to racing for the opening event of what promises to be an enthralling season. Welcome along then to round 1 of this year's Formula One World Championship. We go racing today around the 3.36 miles of the magnificent Bahrain International Circuit with 15 corners and 2 good passing opportunities into turns 1 and 4. Keep an eye out for drivers locking the front left tyre into the tricky braking zone of turn 10. Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. Joker lines up on pole position, and Max Verstappen lines up alongside. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Leclerc, Hamilton, Norris, Chadwick, Sainz, Fernando Alonso, Perez, Gasly, Stroll, Oscar Piastri, Russell, Bottas, Albon, Ocon, Ricciardo, Tsunoda, Magnussen, Hulkenberg, Sargent, and Zhou Guanyu. With preparations almost complete, let's head down to the track. A new season then, a clean slate where anything could happen. Anthony Davidson is with me today as once again we get another year of Formula One underway.
We're into those tense few minutes before the first race then. Everyone's a little bit nervous about reliability. They haven't been running in the hot, turbulent wake of other cars in practice. And they've not been pushing at 100% for long durations. Let's hope no one has to deal with any nasty surprises.
So we'll get into the strategy here. It looks like we're going to be doing a 2-stop is what's suggested. They show medium, medium, hard. And I'm just instantly sort of triangulating in on this. I wonder if we can do medium, medium, soft. I didn't set it there, but I was thinking that just because the last stint showed 17 laps on the hards, which was shorter than both of the medium stints, and I think that the softs would hold up for that 3rd stint, but it's really just going to depend on what happens elsewhere in the race. It's going to depend on safety cars, red flags, that sort of thing, to really see what kind of position we're going to be in when the time comes around. But you see the possible race strategies there: the 2-stop medium, medium, hard, and the 3-stop hard, medium, medium, soft. I don't know about that one. You may have seen a second ago, a bunch of the field is starting on softs, so I wonder if maybe that's just the benefit of other teams having tire upgrades and that sort of thing. And I will say one thing: I don't really like to cheese the AI. I kind of I don't know. I don't even know that you would call it cheesing, but I think a lot of times you can make like a soft medium work, and I don't even know that it's cheesing because I guess the AI has the opportunity to do that as well. But it just feels a little weird to sort of take advantage of the fact that the AI are guaranteed to do a 2-stop. But I will say, I don't know that I've tried to do a 100% race in F123 on a 1-stop and made it work. So maybe that's a moot point. We'll see if we can try that as we get some tire upgrades and stuff on the car. But back to the race. Charles Leclerc quickly gets past me into turn 1. I was using my normal braking point, just trying to be a little conservative with the full load of fuel. but ended up braking way too early because we had so much less speed. So that was completely on me. It just wasn't positioned correctly for the race start, right? But I am in a bit of trouble here. It just seems like I'm going too deep everywhere. And I think that, again, I think that's the fact that we've got this full load of fuel that is I hadn't really accounted for. I haven't done any full load racing so far this weekend because in practice we had, I don't know, 10 laps of fuel in the tank, something like that. Qualifying, obviously, we've got 3 or 4 laps at a time of fuel in the tank. So it's not an excuse. Obviously, you've got to be ready for those different breaking points, but I certainly was not ready for those different breaking points. And it looks like as we get to the end of this first lap, I'm gonna be in P3 at best. I just don't see myself catching Verstappen here. So it's disappointing. It's not as bad as some of the starts that I got in F122 when the AI starts were super OP, and they've gotten rid of that. They're maybe even a little weak now comparatively, but they have definitely improved that to the point that you're not getting gapped off the line. I mean, there were races in F122 where I would start 10th or whatever, and then I'd be P19 by halfway through the first lap just because they get OP starts, and I'm immediately in trouble. So it's good to see that fixed, but we indeed are P3 going into the second lap of the race. Fast forward a bit here to the end of the second lap. I get the fast lap. I go purple. So we're feeling good, feeling pacey, feeling fast. And I hope that I'm going to be able to catch Leclerc up there after I get past Verstappen, hopefully. And theoretically, I should have a faster car than Leclerc. The Omega E-Racing car should be a little faster than the Ferrari, just based on the performance comparison. But also, he's been able to gap us here. And the fact that I completely missed that braking point does absolutely nothing for that. You see us bang wheels a little bit with Verstappen. And we were lucky not to get any damage because I'm on simulation damage here. And another error by me. I don't know if this is lack of comfort or what, but I'm making a mess of this race. I'm now P5. Hamilton and Norris both get past me. And Alonso and Sainz are both on the softs. So you would think that they should be able to pass me. But I'm going to do absolutely everything I can to try to stay ahead of them. And I'm able to do that. But here, going into this DRS zone, I should be able to get Hamilton here, is what I'm expecting. And it looks like I'm gaining straight line speed via straight line speed on Norris and Verstappen. Just barely avoided making contact with Norris there. And didn't get penalized for an off-track overtake, which was nice. But the end outcome is that I'm P4. And I do get past Hamilton there with the benefit of DRS. And I'm right with it in terms of Norris and Verstappen. But remember, Charles Leclerc is in first, and if you look at the mini-map in the bottom left, he is running away with this race at this point. So it's looking like I'm going to need a little bit of marshal intervention via safety cars or red flags to sort of get back in the race. And admittedly, it is early, right? This is only lap 4. A lot can happen. Anything can happen in 50-plus laps of racing. But I'm just getting held up behind these guys. Verstappen and Norris, I feel like I'm a little bit faster than them. And I don't know if that's setup related or we just brought the upgrades this week. I don't know what it is, but I am able to get past Verstappen, but I'm still behind Norris. And Leclerc obviously is way out in front of both of us. So I'm able to make up a little time on Norris here and get the DRS going into the pit straight because he doesn't have anybody in front of him. But I just completely mess up the braking point going into turn 1, which I've done before. That's a tough braking point for me for some reason. Well, not for some reason. I'm always trying to maximize where I brake to try to get the most benefit, and I struggle a lot of times and struggle there with that braking point as well. And at this point in the race, I'm in shambles a little bit. I mean, we're way behind Leclerc. I'm with Hamilton and Norris, but we're going to need a lot of help to catch up to Leclerc. Fortunately, it looks like I'm going to get past Norris here, and I'm also able to get past Hamilton. Again, I wonder if this was just setup related, because I had a crazy straight line speed advantage at a lot of places in this race that I didn't really expect to have, because the AI usually has a significant straight line speed advantage. So it's nice to be able to stick with them and get out ahead of them in some cases, which is not always how it works, but in this case, it is how it works. And that's all that really matters. But the downside is I'm almost 10 seconds behind Leclerc, and I was able to drop that down a little bit. You see, we fast forward a bit to lap 19 here. It's only 7 seconds behind, and he makes an error. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, the race is mine. But unfortunately, we get a red flag. And I think this might be the first red flag that I've had in this game. I have them on increased because usually you don't get much in the way of safety cars or red flags when you're racing against AI. So I had them on increase to hopefully get some intrigue in these races. And it is looking like we're getting some intrigue in this race, but honestly, it probably would have been a lot better for me if we just hadn't gotten a red flag there because I had a decent lead on Hamilton, Norris, Perez, Alonso. I mean, I was in a good space, but unfortunately, Leclerc spinning around means that all these guys are right back in the race, including Leclerc. I mean, he would have lost a ton of time just because he was backwards on track, and to get that righted would take a pretty significant amount of time. And it seems like he's my biggest rival in this race. But we've got one stop left to go. And you'll notice that if you look around at the other cars, they appear to all be on softs, and you assume that they would have switched tires during the red flag. So Alonso is on a new set of softs, Sainz new set of softs. Hamilton was on the mediums originally, I think. Now on the softs. Leclerc is on mediums again, and he started on mediums. So you start to think that Leclerc is probably on the medium hard strategy, which is what the game recommended to me. But I've noted earlier in the video that I like to go medium soft. So we'll see what Leclerc does. But I do feel like Leclerc is probably the biggest obstacle in this race, and it's kind of funny that I say that as Alonso blows past me. But Alonso, I think, will probably go hards on his third stint, and he'll probably have to go longer on those hards than I will on whatever tires I choose. So I guess maybe I should be more worried about Alonso, but Leclerc seems like the one who has significant pace in this race. And Alonso is on the softs here, and I'm still kind of sticking with him, with the advantage of DRS, of course, and ERS usage. But I'm sticking with him, and I do think that I'm going to be able to get in front of him, and I do get in front of him and then completely miss the breaking point, as I have tended to do in this race. It has been very sloppy, but I will say I'm getting more consistent as the race has gone on. By the midpoint of the race, we're lap 26 here, so around this point in the race is when I really started to feel comfortable, and I stopped making as many errors, and I started to really get into a groove and really extract the full pace of this car, because there is a lot of pace in this car. Wheel banging a little bit with Alonso. We don't get any damage, fortunately. I don't think. It didn't get a pop-up. Again, simulation damage, guys, as I've noted. But we're gonna try to gap these guys a little bit. So Leclerc is behind me. Alonso, Hamilton, Perez behind him, and I am gonna get passed here by Charles Leclerc again. As I said, he's the only one who has any ability to stick with me in this race. Hamilton's on the softs. Perez is on the softs. Alonso has dropped a full 4.5 seconds behind me on the softs. I don't know if maybe he's using some used softs that are just older and not as good, but Leclerc seems like he's going to be my main rival in this race. And aware of that, I'm kind of thinking, okay, let me build my pit strategy around Leclerc. So I basically had decided at this point in the race, I'm just going to cover off whatever Leclerc does. So if he pits to undercut me, I'm going to pit next lap. And you probably don't see it here, but I have been checking my tires, and they're in pretty good shape. I want to say they're around upper teens, lower 20 wear. So I was feeling pretty good. I think, okay, I'm going to be fine getting to lap 40 for my pit, and maybe I can push them a little further and go to softs on my third stint and just gap Leclerc wherever he is. So that's kind of the plan a little bit, but we obviously need to get in front of Leclerc first of all, and then stay in front of him, and then just try to cover off whatever he does in terms of his pit strategy. So we get past him, and I am, again, feeling really good at this point. I'm pushing. I just want to get out over a second ahead of him. You see me hit the ERS there, and I do get out in front of him and keep it at a pretty good margin. And I'm just going to fast forward through some of these laps and let you see the gaps here. But Leclerc was obviously in front of me there. I passed him. And now we're getting the lead up to 3 seconds. And Hamilton, Perez, Verstappen, those guys are much further back. So I think I'm out of pit stop range of Hamilton, Perez, Verstappen, I hope. And I think that Leclerc is my only real what's the word, obstacle or opposition in this race. And he is catching up a little bit. Hamilton and them have pitted off of their softs. So it might be interesting to see how much that undercut is effective for Hamilton, Alonso, Perez. But you see Leclerc goes into the pits, and we are on lap 41. So the tires are okay, but you see me here. As I said, I've decided I'm just going to pit opposite Leclerc. So he pits. You see me go in. I confirm that softs are indeed what we're putting on. And this is a set that I used during qualifying. Might be good to remember, by the way, that I maybe shouldn't use all 3 sets during qualifying in the future so that I do have a set for the race. You see us going to the pits. It's on broadcast, obviously. I get a pretty good stop here. What is it, 2.6 seconds? That's pretty good. I've had much worse than that when the AI is in charge. And they say that the estimated life of these softs is 29 laps. We will see if that is true. Surprisingly, Hamilton is the main competition when I come out of the pits here. Hamilton, Perez, Chadwick, and Leclerc. So I don't think that Jamie has pitted yet. I think she will be pitting soon. But the real competition on track now is Hamilton, Perez, and Leclerc. Okay, but Leclerc is on the hards, a full 4 seconds behind me. And it's very possible that these softs die before the end of the race. And whoever's on the hards will have the ability to sort of have the better tire life throughout the end and really take advantage. But as it currently stands, it's looking like Hamilton is going to be the competition here. And it feels like he's the paciest of the people back there. Perez also has a little bit of pace. But Leclerc, 4 seconds away, I'm not pitting again. I think that I should be able to stay in front of him. So the competition appears to be Hamilton and Perez. And these guys are fast. I'm feeling the pressure, and I'm faster at this point in the race just because I've gone through the race. I'm feeling better. I'm feeling more confident in the car. It's really nice to be on softs, even slightly used softs. It feels a lot better to be on the softs and be able to really do everything I can. And you see me checking tire wear there. I'm at about 10%. It's feeling kind of iffy. I mean, 14 more laps on the softs could be tough. But obviously we're going to see what happens here. And I'm on a bit of a fast lap. I'm trying to push out and get away from Hamilton, out of the DRS, and also take advantage of the relatively new tire life and hopefully get a fast lap here that can secure me an extra point. So I go over the line. I'm able to do that, 133.9. We'll see if anybody else can do that, but it's unlikely that I'm gonna get another fast lap in the race. And at this point, I'm kind of cruising. It's just turn on the tires, activate them. Let's see what we can do, right? And it's looking pretty good. We're keeping over a 2-second lead to Hamilton, over a 3-second lead to Perez. But then lap 48 here, we're feeling good, and we are driving well. But unfortunately, it is not meant to last. And for some reason, this just keeps happening to me at Bahrain. I see the pop-up. I know it's going to happen here because it's happened so many times before in MyTeam. And you see that I'm retiring due to a mechanical failure. So it's really disappointing. I was in first, and assuming that those tires go to the end, I am in a great position to win this race. I thought that I was going to win this race. I think that I would have won this race. Obviously, I don't win the race because of the mechanical failure, but we will see what the longer term implications of this on the championship. Obviously, we don't know what the championship is going to look like throughout the season. There are a lot of races to go, 20 plus races to go. So there's plenty of time for other drivers to crash out, make errors, have problems with their cars and get mechanical failures or whatever. But for the meantime, I'm out of the race. I don't know what this is going to do to engine part components. We'll have to look at that as we go into the next race. But this feels like just a horrible missed opportunity. Pole, Came back from a pretty rough first stint and was able to be in first place in my final stint. And all I had to do was manage those tires and get them to the end. And I was doing it. I mean, tire wear was not bad. I think it was what upper 19s or upper teens. I think when I had to retire with 10, 12, something like that laps to go. I think I would have been able to get it done. And I hope that we get another opportunity later in the season to get it done and get a win and get some good results because it's at the moment it's just painful to sit here and watch these guys celebrate on the podium when it feels like that should have been my win. It feels like it should have been us up there celebrating. But unfortunately, it wasn't meant to be. Jamie gets 2 points for the team, ninth place. That's great. It looks like the fastest lap that those guys at the top can muster is a low 134, 134.4 or something like that. So I was the fastest car on track today. I was the fastest driver. I put myself in a good position, and ultimately, just because of reliability, we weren't able to make it stick, which is unfortunate. And we're also in a Mercedes, which is the most reliable of the engines, I believe. So if it was going to happen to someone, you would think that it wouldn't be happening to me, but unfortunately it is. So disappointing result, but we will fight and we will come back and we will try to win the next one.